What would you do if you faced an illness medicine couldn't cure? The story you're about to hear is about a saint who knew that pain, but his journey didn't begin with faith. It began with a punch. This is the story of a rebellious, violent young man who became the patron saint of cancer patients, and of the miracle that healed a leg that was about to be amputated, in just one night. Get ready to meet Saint Peregrine Laziosi. Forlì, 13th century, a city torn by conflict, resisting the authority of the Pope. In the middle of this chaos stood a fiery young man, Peregrine Laziosi. He wasn't a future saint, he was a troublemaker. By age 18, he was already leading anti-church protests. The Pope sent a friar to calm tensions, Saint Philip Benizi, of the Servite order. But Peregrine didn't want peace, he wanted confrontation. Fueled by anger, he struck the friar publicly. And then, something happened. Philip didn't hit back. He knelt down, offered his other cheek, and prayed for Peregrine. That image pierced his heart. Peregrine couldn't forget that scene. He sought out Philip, begged forgiveness, and in that act of humility, a new man was born. At 30, he left his past behind and joined the Servite order, also known as the Servants of Mary. His conversion was radical. He made vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. But most surprising of all was his vow of silence, which he kept for years. As penance for his prideful past, he never sat down, he spent his life standing or kneeling in prayer. The rage of his youth turned into gentleness. Years of penance wore down his body. At 60, he began to suffer from excruciating pain. Doctors discovered a malignant tumor in his right leg. The verdict was harsh, amputation was necessary. For a man who had spent his life praying on his feet, this was unbearable. The night before surgery, knowing nothing would ever be the same, he crawled to the chapel and prayed with all his soul. Exhausted, he fell asleep at the foot of the cross, and in a dream, he saw Jesus descend and touch his wounded leg. At dawn, as the doctors prepared for the surgery, they were stunned. The tumor, the infection, the wound, gone. There was no trace of cancer. Saint Peregrine had been healed. He lived 20 more years, in silence, prayer, and service. He died on May 1, 1345, surrounded by his brothers in faith. The people of Forlì immediately recognized his holiness. He was canonized in 1726, and today, Saint Peregrine is known worldwide as the patron of cancer patients and those suffering from incurable diseases. His image is found in hospitals, prayer corners, and shrines, where people cry out in hope. And many still report physical and spiritual healings through his intercession. His story reminds us that the greatest miracle isn't always healing, it's the faith we find in the middle of suffering. He was once a rebel, a sinner, and yet, he became a sign of hope for the sick and brokenhearted. If you or someone you love is battling illness, remember Saint Peregrine. Prayer is a path of peace and hope. Pray with us, Saint Peregrine, intercede for me before Christ. Grant me healing of body and peace of soul. If this story moved you, like, subscribe to Breath of Faith, and share this video with someone who needs hope today.